Welcome to Datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
Welcome to Datascience.show. I'm Mirko, main host, and today we're tackling a too rarely discussed deal risk, embedded AI in M&A. Picture this. You close on a fast-growing company because the model they showed in the demo drove bookings. Then, 6 months later, you're writing a multi-million-dollar remediation check because the pipeline depended on a third-party data feed that expired. Sound familiar? It shouldn't. Today, I'll give you a short decision-first playbook you can use in the deal room and carry straight into the first 90 days after close. This is built for executives, CEOs, CFOs, CDOs, heads of integration, who need board-ready answers, not engineering lectures. Let's get started. First, why this matters now. AI and data assets are material to value more than ever. Treating them as footnotes in diligence turns upside into liability. When I say value, I mean predictable revenue and controlled run rate, not just models on a laptop. In the next 20 minutes, I'll walk you through what to decide in 30-90 minutes of executive interviews, the quick technical signals that matter, how to translate findings into price adjustments and contractual levers, what legal should flag, and a prioritized 30-90-day integration checklist to preserve optionality. By the end, you'll have 3 actions you can use in the next deal. Let's start with pre-deal AI due diligence, the short list of executive questions that surface capability, dependency, and maintainability. You don't need to plunge into code. Ask these questions and demand concise, evidence-based answers. First, what business outcome does the model directly drive? Numbers, please. Revenue attribution, cost avoidance, conversion lift. If they can't map the model to a measurable outcome, that's a red flag. Second, who owns the production pipeline and the runtime environment? Is it fully in their control, or does it run on a vendor platform with a single vendor dependency? Vendor lock-in changes your remediation options. Third, what is the data lineage for the model? Sources, frequency, transformation steps, and retention policies. If lineage is unclear, you're buying black boxes. Fourth, what monitoring and rollback controls exist? Are there automated alerts for data drift or model degradation? How quickly can teams retrain or roll back a model if behavior shifts? Fifth, what access will you get during diligence? Logs, sample datasets, model metadata, and training pipeline descriptions. If access is restricted or delayed, that increases valuation uncertainty. Sixth, what are the team and operating costs to keep this in production? People, cloud, third-party fees. Ask for historical run rate numbers and headcount plans. Finally, are there third-party licenses or supplier contracts embedded in the pipelines? Any use of licensed data or models needs to be surfaced now, not after close. Now, fast signals for model and data health that a non-engineer can validate quickly. These are lightweight checks you can ask the engineers to run and report back in 24 to 72 hours. Signal 1. Model metadata and reproducibility. Can they produce a model card, a versioned artifact, and a record of the training job? If there's no artifact provenance, assume hidden work and hidden cost. Signal 2. Input distribution snapshots. Get sample distributions for the key features the model uses and compare those to production logs. Large mismatches suggest drift or brittle features. Signal 3. Dependency map. A simple diagram that shows all upstream data sources, transformations, and external APIs. Count how many unique external dependencies exist. Each is a potential point of failure. Signal 4. Simple performance checks. Ask for recent production metrics, accuracy, precision recall where relevant, and business KPIs the model affects. Look for recent changes in these metrics. Signal 5. Test suite and CI/CD status. Is there an automated pipeline that runs unit and integration tests? If deployments are manual, you're inheriting operational risk. These signals won't make you an ML expert overnight, but they give you 3 verdicts. Green, evidence is reproducible and monitored. Amber, concerns that need contractual remediation. Red, likely a lift and replace scenario or price adjustment.
Translating findings into deal mechanics. This is where the CFO and GC need to sit up. I recommend 3 negotiation levers you can use in offers and purchase agreements. 1. Conditional pricing through escrow or staged payments. Tie a portion of the purchase price to remediation milestones or operational acceptance tests that you define during diligence. This converts technical uncertainty into measurable milestones. 2. Focused warranties and indemnities. Instead of broad technology warranties, include narrow, testable clauses. Ownership of model artifacts, compliance of training data with licenses, and clearance of third-party data. Make breach triggers objective, for example, missing provenance artifacts or undisclosed license data. 3. Remediation caps and remediation plans. Set a maximum remediation budget and a committed timeline with an integration owner. If remediation exceeds the cap, the seller absorbs the overrun or price is adjusted. When you quantify risk for commercial teams, translate technical findings into dollar ranges. Use historical run rate numbers, estimated engineering hours to remediate, and supplier fees. Present those ranges to the deal committee as adjustments or escrow sizing, not hypotheticals, but modeled scenarios with probabilities. That's how you get board-ready numbers.
Legal and IP red flags. What counsel must insist on immediately. These are the items that derail deals later if you miss them. First, trained artifact ownership. Clarify whether the seller owns the trained weights and whether any components include third-party model checkpoints or pre-trained embeddings with restrictive licenses. Second, training data licensing. Did the seller license or purchase third-party datasets? Are there usage restrictions that limit commercial use, modification, or cross-border transfer? Pay attention to datasets containing personal data. Privacy regulators treat those differently. Third, third-party model or API dependencies. If a core pipeline uses an external API or an externally hosted model, ensure that the contract allows transfer or continued access post-close. Otherwise, you inherit a brittle runtime. Fourth, export controls and cross-jurisdictional exposure. Some training data or models may fall under export restrictions or data residency rules. Confirm legal exposure across the jurisdictions you operate in. Finally, warranties must be objective and testable. Avoid vague assertions like "to our knowledge" without defined discovery windows. Insist on documentary evidence and explicit representations about data ownership and licensing.
Assuming you close, what does the 30-90-day integration playbook look like? Prioritize stabilization, validation, and optionality. Here's a pragmatic phased approach you can operationalize immediately. Days 0-30, stabilize. Get production access, backups, and run a smoke test. Assign a single integration owner with budget authority and an SLA roadmap. Create a minimal CI/CD verification. Can we reproduce a prediction for a couple of historical inputs? If not, escalate. Days 30-60, validate. Run parallel validation against your environment. Validate model performance on your data slices, check feature availability, and run targeted A/B tests where feasible. Define acceptance criteria tied to the warranties you negotiated. Days 60-90, decide and act. Based on stabilization and validation, decide whether to keep, refactor, or retire models. If you keep them, align SLAs, monitoring thresholds, and run rate budgets. If you replace them, have clear decommissioning steps and rollback plans. Throughout, consolidate pipelines where it reduces run rate without destroying momentum. Don't rip and replace everything. Preserve optionality for components that are delivering measured value. Assign clear ownership for long-term decisions. Who owns the model roadmap? Who owns monitoring? And who reports KPIs to the steering committee?
Governance and decision rights, the often overlooked glue. Integration succeeds when roles are clear and escalation gates are defined. Create a small integration steering group, sponsor from the business, a technical integration lead, legal counsel, and a finance representative. Meet weekly for the first 90 days and use a short dashboard, operational availability, model performance delta versus baseline, number of unknown dependencies, and estimated remediation spend to date. Define escalation gates. For example, if model performance drops by more than X% from target, trigger a mandatory rollback and a remediation budget review. If remediation estimates exceed the cap you set in the SPA, require executive sign-off. Finally, report to the board with simple, comparable KPIs: revenue or cost impact attributable to the AI asset, current run rate, remaining remediation backlog, and outlook for achieving full integration. Keep reporting crisp. Executives want line items, not engineering narratives.
A brief anonymized case illustration to bring this together. A mid-market acquirer bought a B2B recommendation engine company. During diligence, the buyer accepted high-level claims on Lyft, but didn't insist on lineage or sample datasets. After close, they discovered a feature was derived from a licensed third-party feed that cost hundreds of thousands per year and could not be transferred. The buyer faced a tough choice: pay for ongoing license, rebuild the feature from alternate sources, or accept degraded model performance. The resolution combined a price concession, a 3-month remediation plan funded from escrow, and a focused rebuild that ultimately cost less than continuing the license. The deal still delivered value, but only because the acquirer converted an unknown into a funded, time-boxed remediation with owner accountability. That's the difference between models and value. 3 executive actions to take this week. 1. Add a short AI annex to your standard diligence checklist. 1 page with the executive questions I covered, plus the 5 fast signals. Use it in every tech diligence call. 2. Require at least 1 executive-level interview with the seller's data lead and product sponsor in the first 72 hours of serious diligence. No substitute for the human context. 3. Build conditional payment terms into the term sheet. Escrow, staged payments tied to acceptance tests, or explicit remediation caps. Translate technical uncertainty into commercial protections. If you do these 3 things, you'll move AI from a footnote to a first-class deal item, and that protects value. Before we close, a quick note on risk. Deals often fail to surface AI issues because teams treat AI questions as technical noise or diligence access is limited. To mitigate this, frame the AI checklist as a short, board-ready annex and insist on executive interviews. Use conditional pricing mechanisms and sample contractual language to force disclosure. Engage cross-jurisdictional counsel early where there are multi-country data flows. These steps convert unknowns into manageable milestones instead of surprises. If you want a practical companion to this episode, we've put together a downloadable M&A AI checklist and a 30-90-day integration roadmap, short, ready to attach to your diligence package. Visit the show notes or LinkedIn to grab them. Share with your GC and CFO, and drop me a note on how you used the checklist in a deal. Datascience.show exists to help executives make data decisions that matter. Thanks for listening. And remember, that's the difference between models and value.
Thanks for listening to Datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.